Hey there e-bike fans, in this video we're going to be doing a review on the Zhengbu K6. This is the bike that was the first to be introduced to the United States with a lithium graphene battery. I got some surprises about this bike, and let's go ahead and I'll show you in the video. Okay, so I'm going to start this video actually with the unboxing of the bike itself. As you can see, there's only like 3 really big foam pieces that need to be removed. And at this point, really, that's like the hardest part other than lifting the bike out itself. So, you just take out the post, you take out the charger that's sitting on top as well. I've already taken out the 2 big other foam pieces. I'm taking out the 3rd one right now. Once that's out of the way, the bike pretty much can just be lifted right out. Now, I measured it at close to about 52 pounds or so. But it's not that heavy to go ahead and get out. Then all you're doing is really cutting off all your zip ties, taking off your foam protection, and at this point you really just get the handlebar stem, put it up there, and stick your handlebar in and adjust the angle of the handlebar. And once that's tightened down, all you're left to do is really put in your seat, adjust it to the right height, flip down your pedals, and right here I'm just testing out the shocks. It was really cool on how that worked out. Got the key, turned it on, and then started it up to go ahead and see the motor starting to run. On this bike itself, we're going to go over some of the details. It's a really nice bike. This is what it kind of looks like. I have the seat all the way down in this particular picture, so a really short rider can actually be sitting on this bike. The thing about this bike, though, you need to remember is that even though it's smaller, it doesn't ride like a smaller bike. It actually has a really powerful 400 watt motor. For a 16-inch wheel size, this 400 watt motor is actually super powerful for it. It is also a 48 volt lithium graphene battery, and so you basically have these graphene cells in it. I'm going to go over a little more about the benefits of the graphene cells that's in it, but this is one of the first bikes with lithium graphene within the United States that was shipped out here. It's also folding. It slips into the bike when it's folded right here. You can charge the battery on the bike or off the bike, either way. So next that you see here is the LED circle display. It's actually really bright. It's a display that actually shines even during the day. Unfortunately, when I took the picture with my cell phone, the frame rate made it look like it was only half showing, but this is as bright as it gets. Even during the day, it stands out a lot. You don't have any problems midday seeing this thing. It does have kilometer per hour only, so if you need to know your speed, miles per hour, you do need to go ahead and have either a cell phone GPS showing of some sort. It also does show your battery level that's on the top here, and then also you have your kilometer distance. There is not an option at this moment in time to go ahead and switch it over to miles per hour, but kilometer per hour is just fine. You're not going to be breaking most of the speed limits anyway on this bike, unless you plan to go in areas that are above 20 miles an hour. This bike also has 160 millimeter disc brakes. These are mechanical disc brakes. They work really well as well, especially for a bike this size. Stops really good. You also have here, as you can see, this wire that's coming out. This is the safety shutoff. So when you actually pull the brake, it cuts the power to the motor. I think all bikes should just come automatically with that. And next we have here the front suspension on the bike. And the coolest thing about this bike also, which a lot of bikes do not have, even in this sizing of bikes, it is actually a rear suspension too. So you have both front and rear. It's dual suspension, and it adds for a super nice ride. Even under the littlest bumps, you just don't feel any of that. I mean, usually you have to pump up the tires to about 30 psi or higher, which makes the tires really hard. So when you have tires that are that hard, you feel usually every crack in the sidewalk. With these dual suspension, you actually don't feel anything. It's pretty amazing. This is my first dual suspension bike that I've ridden, and I'm sold on it. It's pretty awesome. Next, we also have an integrated headlight. It does hook up to the main battery and turn on and off. The thing is, on the rear side of the bike, we only have actually reflectors. These are not actually light. They don't light up with the bike itself. These reflectors are just only reflective. They do not have lights built in them. This bike also comes with a built-in cell phone holder. Now, this cell phone holder will only hold really thin cell phones. It does have, there's a little notch that you can see here. It does have actually a USB charge port though. So that is something that's pretty handy. The bike also comes with a rack built. It comes as part of the bike standard, and it's not some really small, cheap rack. It is actually a really sturdy rack. And as you see in the ride videos, it also held my bag rack just fine on it. It fit nicely, and that was just perfect for the ride that I did for this as well. The bike does fold, and it does fit easily inside the trunk of most cars. Even a small compact car, the trunk, it'll fit really well. This is the ideal bike for a lot of people who are like RV or have small campers, or just want to take it in the park and want to throw it in the trunk of a car so that you have something around to make small errands on. It is ideal, and it is not a small bike where it's runs like a small bike. It actually runs like a pretty regular sized bike. It does run really, really well. This bike also has 3 different pedal assist modes. First pedal assist here that you see far left is basically just a bicycle. Now it is a single gear, so you won't be going very fast on that single gearing that's on there, but with setting 2 and 3, it does then pick up your different pedal assist levels to higher levels. So you have basically 2 levels of pedal assist and off. All right. Next we have here the mag wheels that are on this. For less maintenance, you don't need to worry about spokes, and it is just awesome the way that these aluminum alloys for strength and for comfort as well. It's just really perfect for this type of bike. Okay, the next part here, we have also wanted to show that it does come with both fenders, front and back, full fenders, and also it comes with a rust-proof chain. So you have it's anti-rusted chain, and also it comes with an anti-rust chain. So this is basically your bike as a whole. It is a beautiful bike. It has right in between the sizing of the Lectric XP and the Jetson Pro. To be honest, I was borrowing this Jetson from a friend to go in and do a review on it, and it really is a fun little bike, but it feels more like a toy. In fact, if you even go to the Jetson website, you'll see that they mostly have younger teenagers or preteens actually on this bike as an advertisement, because for an adult, you know, I've seen adults riding it all over the place. I mean, they're selling it at Costco for like $300 or $350, and it's a great price. But it's not necessarily going to be a bike that you want to do for longer commutes. The Zhengbu can definitely go longer commutes. It has a battery that can go up to 25 miles on throttle only. And that was tested by Josh from Amp Rides USA. He actually did a range test on it, and I think he's about 180 is what he said. But he rode it continuously till the battery died, and got it 23 miles on just throttle alone. Now, this bike also has a 48 volt 10 amp lithium graphene battery, which means that the 10 amp size is about the same as Lectric XP, and it goes at the same range of it, but it has a lot smaller tires. So it, with a 400 watt motor versus a 500 on Lectric XP, you still get the torque that you need to be picking up quite a bit because of the rotations being smaller, but still you get the distance. You know, even though you'd think that the battery might not last as long, 23 miles is actually pretty decent on this. It does also have the ability to recharge really quick if you buy an aftermarket charger. Now, this thing only comes with a 2 amp charger, so it takes about 5 hours for it to do a full recharge. But if you buy a 5 amp charger aftermarket, Zhengbu does claim that you can actually get 2 hours on a full charge from almost a dead battery. So that's pretty cool, and that's one of the things that the graphene element allows for it. The claim of graphene that's out there, you know, some of the other reports that I had done said that this was going to be the battery of the future, and this is the first phase. This is the first battery that we've seen in e-bikes that have graphene. Graphene is out there. I mean, the last video I did talked a lot about different companies already having it in cell phones coming out, and also in radio control cars and radio control airplanes. Those type of things are already been using these graphene technology on some of them, but nothing really super impressive on this, except for this battery being able to charge very quickly if you get an aftermarket charger. But all in all, right now, I would just say it performs as well as a lithium, especially with the charger that it comes with. But you just have that ability to go ahead and power a 400 watt motor very efficiently, and it's actually pretty light as well, the battery itself. So we have this as our great new, I guess, line of bikes that are, I guess, not necessarily the regular full-size bike, but they're on the mini line. Again, great for RVers, boaters, and even just small commuters who just want a riding bike that can go a few miles, or maybe up to 10 miles even. I mean, I would take this on a commute. The only thing is it only goes up to the max of what I found to be 24 or 25 miles an hour, and that's peak. And then, of course, it starts to then level out at about 23 to 24, and we'll go ahead and see that in the ride video next. 25 miles an hour right now. 24, it maintains 25 miles an hour on throttle. If you're pedaling, it actually doesn't go as fast. 22 miles an hour, 23 miles an hour. Kilometer an hour is at 36. 24 miles an hour. Maintaining 24 on throttle. This is pretty flat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and freeze the frame right here, because as you can see in the bottom right corner in the purple font, that is actually a 26 mile an hour reading, and this is a completely flat area of the path. And even right above the 26, you'll see that red circle that has 25, which means the street speed limit is actually 25 miles an hour. When it turns red, basically it's telling you that you're exceeding the speed limit. So as you can see, it actually averages anywhere between 23 to 25 miles an hour typically on straightaways, and this is completely throttle only. In this case, the pedals are almost completely useless because you're going too fast for the pedals to keep up, especially with single gearing. But this is just an example of the type of speed that you can get on this bike, which is pretty incredible. Okay, so here's my final thoughts on the Zhengbu K6 bike. In itself, as a whole, this bike is actually top of its class. Josh from Amp Rides USA definitely picked another winner, and he is again picking bikes that are outperforming most of the bikes in their own classes or same size or same families. So this is a 16-inch wheel, and being that it's only 16 inches, for a wheel tire size, a lot of these bikes actually out there, most of them actually go only at a max of 15 miles an hour. Some of them have 20, but none of them reach the speeds that we've seen out there for bikes like this. Now, regarding the graphene, is that really as big a deal as I thought it was going to be with this? Now, you do get the charge time that's a lot faster, and that's granted a good thing too, but you also get a battery that seems to be a little lighter for the amount of range that you get. Like I say, he did a real live test that actually went 23 to 25 miles on throttle alone, which is not bad, because when you think of some of the other bikes in this class, and we're just going to take a look at some of the comparisons. Now, this is the bike that he's selling, Amp Rides, for $950. Right now they have about 65 in stock, and at the time of this making of this video, and they won't be shipping out until October. They blew through the first batch that they had when I first mentioned about the bike, and people are happy about it. In fact, the word of mouth is spreading so much about those who have now received those bikes, because they got them within like a week or two, that they're selling like crazy. So let's look at some of the competitors. The Fido L3 right now is actually one of the biggest, well-known on the YouTube, I guess, influencer community right now. We're seeing this all over the place with some other influencers at also $999. And it has a huge 23 amp hour battery, up to almost 70 miles. So you're going to get a lot of mileage on this. Now, I guess someone hasn't really been able to test it completely till it completely died. You're going to have to sacrifice something for that. And ideally what you're going to be sacrificing is the speed. So this can only go 15 miles an hour. And as long as you're willing to go ahead and accept that, that's fine. I mean, if range is more important than speed, 15 miles an hour is quite adequate. But I find that it is a little slow. So ideally, I would say that, with a 23 mile an hour range on the K6, being that it can go 23, 24, or up to 25 miles an hour plus, I would take that over range right now at this point, because you can also charge the battery pretty quickly. If you, like I said, get the aftermarket one, you can recharge it, at your stop. And usually most people don't exceed that 25 mile an hour or 23 mile an hour range on that too. The Discovery Jupiter bike, this is another really popular bike out there. And this too, it has its limited speed on it. Now, it is selling for only $795. So you are getting it for about $150 less, or let's see, and you do have a max speed of only 16 miles an hour, but you do get 30 miles max, so you're going to get about 7 more miles. But because it's only a 350 watt and a 36 volt, you're not going to get as much power out of the bike as you would with the K6. Next, the Bolt bike. This is the one that actually is shown. You can get this at Costco for about like between $300 and $400. This really is not, I'm going to say, for a rider who's going to ride often. It's going to be more for fun. I mean, if you look at the pictures that they're advertising, these are mostly teens on here and very low riding. Now, it is a very light, convenient bike, And I have seen a lot of adults riding it around. I mean, but it's not something that's going to be a long distance rider for sure. So you also get a max of 15 miles an hour on this bike too. We're looking at another one called the Citizen. They have a bunch of different bikes out there, different styles. And this is one of the bikes that you will get a little more speed over it, but only up to 20 miles an hour. No, none of the bikes I've seen yet of anything that's in comparative classes, again, go up to the 25 or past a 20 mile an hour mark. But some of these do. This one has 15 up to 20. Again, but that's the max that you're going to get. Max distance is, again, only 25. It is cool, though. They have the battery in the seat. So the only thing you got to remember is that if you're going to leave this bike locked up somewhere, take your seat with you and the seat post, because you don't want a chance that someone's going to steal that from you. And we have, again, a comparative tool based on the Qualisports models. And, you know, Electric Bike Review did a bunch of different ones on the 2019 models, and there are different ranges. But when you look at the speed, they all have 350. Oh, this is a 500 watt bike, so that's actually pretty good. And you get up to 25 miles for that 500 watts. Top speed across the board is only 20 miles an hour. So again, this bike is actually a bike worth looking into, the Zhengbu. If you are going to look for a smaller bike that you need it more compact and you want to be able to go at higher speeds, but still decent distances, and it's super comfortable. It also has dual suspension. This does not. It doesn't have any suspension. We're looking at the Citizen. Looking up here. Again, no suspension whatsoever. The bolt, this actually, for some reason, I mean, I've been riding around this bolt. It does absorb stuff pretty good, but it's not like having suspension. And again, it is a smaller bike. Seems mostly for kids. This Jupiter bike does have has rear suspension. I don't see anything in the front, so I'm not sure if this actually has front suspension. It doesn't look like it. Again, that's something different as well. And the Fido does not have any suspension whatsoever. So again, you get dual suspension, you get a battery that's at least 10 amp hours, a 400 watt motor on this, and also it's a very cool looking bike. I mean, it's really sleek in design, and once they get it in during October, you'll be able to pick one of these up. If you have any questions regarding this, please feel free to contact Josh at Amp Rides USA. Again, thank you, Josh, for sending out the bike so that we could do a review on it. That's my review on it. As you can see in the video, I'm doing some ride arounds doing some loops. How, I guess, versatile it is. This court size was about a little larger than a basketball court that I was going through, just doing some loops, and I was just having a blast. I think I rode on there for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it was just so much fun. But thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of video or you want more reviews, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and also put your comments below. What do you guys think of the Zhengbu? If any of you guys have bought the Zhengbu, please, I'd love to hear what your experiences are. I'm super impressed with this bike, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.